Yes, you. Welcome to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast, a podcast for people who want to disrupt their lives for a good reason, to make it count. I'm your host, Jen Glantz, and every week I'll drop a new episode with stories from real people just like you, who woke up one morning and decided to make big changes, starting with small things. We'll cover topics like entrepreneurship, love, failure, and self-care. Hey, you're not getting any younger, so let's make this an adventure. Ready?
I never really talk about this, but for the past 8 years, I've been running a Monday newsletter. It is completely free. The newsletter is a lot like this podcast, but there's even more tips, tricks, links, and fun things inside of it. It drops in your inbox every single Monday at 6 a.m. You can subscribe once again for free at mondaypickmeup.com. That's mondaypickmeup.com. I can't wait to say hello in your inbox this Monday. Hey, any youngers. It's me, your host, Jen Glantz, back with another episode of the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. We're almost there, my friends, almost at Thanksgiving. And a part of me doesn't like Thanksgiving because of the food. I'm a lifelong vegetarian, and I feel like it's a holiday where the food and I don't really mix. I remember as a kid, there were some times where right before we'd go to our Thanksgiving celebration, my dad would take me to get pizza, and he would just sneak me to get some pizza because I wouldn't eat anything at Thanksgiving except for apple pie, which is still pretty much what I do. So beside the food, though, I do like the holiday. I feel like some of my traditions are watching the Thanksgiving Day parade and the dog show and just relaxing during the day and keeping it pretty simple. But one thing I will say is that this podcast was born around Thanksgiving because I think 5 years ago I was going through a really tough time secretly, and I was so depressed on Thanksgiving I could hardly even just get out of bed. I was just scrolling through social media. I was at an all-time low, and I finally got myself in the shower and I was just talking to myself out loud, and I'm like, Jen, I had been feeling this way, this depressed way for a very long time, and I remember just thinking to myself, Jen, how do we help this? How do we work on this? Because you're not getting any younger. And I said that phrase and I was like, okay, wow, that's a powerful phrase because it puts our life and our time into perspective. So anyway, I always like this time of year because it reminds me of that time in my life, which wasn't very good, but something good that was born from it, which was this podcast. So I'm grateful for all of you for listening to it, whether you're a new listener or you are an OG. It means so much. It keeps me going. There's times where I'm like, should I stop doing this? Should I do something else? But then I look at the numbers, I look at the downloads, and I see thousands of you every single week who press play on this show. And it means so much. And by the way, if you ever have any feedback or you want episodes on certain things, reach out, say hello. You could always email me, jenglantz@gmail.com. Drop into my Instagram DMs and say hello. I'm at Jen Glantz on Instagram. I would love to hear from you. But as we go into the Thanksgiving holiday, I like the holiday because I like the art of being thankful and grateful. And I try to do something called the 3x3, where I think of 3 different things I'm grateful for and take 3 different actions about those things. So I'll think of one thing that I'm grateful for. Maybe it's something in my community or my neighborhood or something that an actual physical thing I am grateful for. Maybe I'm very grateful for my microphone that allows me to podcast because it's a really awesome microphone. I pick an actual thing, an item, and because I feel grateful for it, I try to give back in that way. So if I'm grateful for my neighborhood, which I've really grown to love Williamsburg, Brooklyn, I'll say, okay, I'm grateful for my neighborhood. I'm going to find one action to take to give back. Maybe that's doing a food drive in the neighborhood or volunteering locally, something like that. I mentioned just an example, I'm grateful for my podcast microphone. So maybe what I'll do is I'll purchase the microphone and donate it to somebody who can't afford a microphone but wants to get into podcasting. So pick one physical or one thing in your life that you're grateful for and think of an action to give back. Number 2, I'll think of a person who I am so grateful for, especially this year. I have one person in particular who has just really supported me this year. It's a newer friend of mine. And then I will think of an action I can take to thank that person. Maybe it's taking them out to dinner or writing them a letter, but doing something to tell that person how grateful I am for them, because honestly, they might not even know. And even if they do know, it's just nice to bring it back up to them. And then a third thing I'll pick is just something extra random that I'm really grateful for, something that got me through this year. And I'll take an action on that behalf as well. Maybe it's a thing, maybe it's a person, maybe it's whatever, but I'll do something for that. So, I think around the holiday, we're all so eager to figure out like how to show thanks, how to show that we're grateful. But we often have to not only think, but take some action to show that. So that's my challenge for you, the 3x3. Think of a thing, think of something, and take action to show you're grateful for it. Think of a person, take action to show them you're grateful for them, and then think of something random and take an action for that. Wishing you a sweet and joyful Thanksgiving. And if it's not the Thanksgiving of your dreams, that's okay too. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Until then, all my love, Jen Glantz.
Hey you! Thank you for listening to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. There are hundreds of thousands of pods out there, so thank you for listening to this one. You can find the show notes for this week's episode up on our website, anyyounger.com. Subscribe, rate, and review the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast on iTunes so that other ears around the world can listen too. Oh, and join our secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group, where over 1,000 people are talking about how to disrupt their lives, for a good reason, to make it count. Until next week, all my love, Jen Glantz.